In the glittering ballroom of the most exclusive gala in New York City, where diamonds sparkled brighter than the stars outside and champagne flowed like rivers of gold, a hush fell over the crowd. Alexander Voss, the enigmatic billionaire whose tech empire had revolutionized the world, dropped to one knee in front of a stunned maid named Elena Ramirez. She was dressed in a simple black uniform, her hands trembling as she clutched a silver tray of empty glasses. The scar on her cheek, a faint but jagged line that she'd hidden under makeup for years, caught the light as he gazed up at her. "Elena," he whispered, his voice echoing through the silent room, "I've searched for you for 25 years. Will you marry me?" Gasps rippled through the elite guests, celebrities, tycoons, and socialites who had never seen such raw emotion at one of their polished events. But this wasn't just a proposal, it was the culmination of a love story forged in fire, lost in shadows, and reborn in the unlikeliest of places. If this tale of destiny, passion, and redemption hooks you right from the start, smash that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heart-pounding stories that prove true love never dies. Now, let's dive into how it all began. Elena Ramirez grew up in a dusty little town on the outskirts of Mexico, where the sun baked the earth and dreams seemed as distant as the city lights she'd only seen in magazines. She was just 18 when she first met Alexander, or Alex, as he insisted she call him. He was 20, a young American backpacker volunteering at a local orphanage during his gap year before diving into his family's business world. Alex was tall, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to see straight through her defenses, and a smile that could melt the hardest heart. Elena, with her long, raven black hair cascading down her back in curves that turned heads even in her modest dresses, worked as a helper at the orphanage to support her ailing mother. Their first encounter was electric. She was mopping the floor when he accidentally knocked over a bucket, soaking them both. Laughter bubbled up between them, and in that moment, something ignited, a spark that would burn for decades. From that day, their romance blossomed in secret stolen moments. They'd sneak away to the nearby riverbank, where the water rushed cool and inviting. Alex would trace his fingers along her sun-kissed skin, whispering promises of a future together. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen," he'd say, his hands exploring the soft swells of her body under the moonlight. Elena, shy at first, soon gave in to the passion, her lips meeting his in fervent kisses that left them both breathless. Their lovemaking was intense, a blend of youthful urgency and deep tenderness. He'd undress her slowly, savoring every inch, kissing the curve of her neck, the fullness of her breasts, down to the heat between her thighs. She'd arch against him, her nails digging into his back as waves of pleasure crashed over them. It was more than physical, it was a connection of souls, two people from different worlds finding solace in each other's arms. But fate had other plans. One fateful night, tragedy struck. Elena's family home caught fire, arson, they later learned, set by local thugs her brother had crossed. Elena rushed in to save her little sister, flames licking at her skin. She emerged scarred, a deep gash across her cheek from a falling beam, her sister safe but her own beauty forever altered. In the chaos, Alex was pulled away by his worried family, who whisked him back to the States amid fears of escalating violence in the region. He promised to return, to find her, but borders closed, communications failed, and life pulled them apart. Elena's mother passed soon after, and with no money, she fled to the U.S. illegally, crossing the desert in a harrowing journey that tested her spirit. She ended up in New York, working odd jobs, eventually as a maid for the wealthy, hiding her scar under layers of concealer and her heart under layers of resignation. She dated sporadically, but no one stirred her like Alex had. Those memories of his touch, his whispered words during their intimate nights, haunted her dreams. Meanwhile, Alex Voss transformed his pain into power. Back home, he threw himself into building his company, Voss Tech, innovating AI that changed industries overnight. He became a billionaire by 30, his face on magazine covers, women throwing themselves at him. But none compared to Elena. He'd search for her endlessly, hiring private investigators, scouring immigration records, even traveling back to Mexico multiple times. 25 years of dead ends, false leads, and heartache. His relationships were shallow. In the bedroom, he'd close his eyes and imagine her, the way her body moved beneath him, her moans echoing in his mind. He'd take lovers, yes, passionate encounters in penthouse suites where he'd dominate with a commanding touch, but it was always empty. One night, with a supermodel writhing under him, her legs wrapped around his waist as he thrust deeply, he whispered Elena's name by mistake. It was then he knew, no one else would do. Elena's life as a maid was a grind of invisibility. She cleaned mansions, served at parties, always in the background. Her body, still curvaceous and alluring at 43, drew unwanted advances from entitled guests, groping hands, lewd comments. She'd fend them off with quiet dignity, but inside, she ached for genuine connection. One particularly grueling challenge came when she worked for a cruel socialite who belittled her daily, reminding her of her place. Elena's scar, which she'd learned to embrace privately, became a target for mockery. "Who'd want a scarred maid like you?" the woman sneered. It broke Elena's spirit, leading to nights of tears, but she persevered for her now-grown daughter, Maria, whom she'd had from a brief, loveless marriage that ended in divorce. Maria, a bright student studying nursing, was Elena's light, reminding her of the resilience she'd shown crossing that desert. The turning point came at the elite party hosted by Voss. Elena was hired as extra help, bustling through the crowd with trays. Alex, mingling with investors, felt a strange pull. Then he saw her, bending to pick up a dropped napkin, her makeup smudged just enough to reveal the scar. His heart stopped. It was her. The scar he'd heard about in vague reports from investigators, the one that matched the fire story. He approached, his voice trembling. "Elena? Is it really you?" She froze, dropping the tray with a crash. Their eyes locked, and in that instant, 25 years melted away. He pulled her aside to a private balcony, the city lights twinkling below. "I've never stopped looking," he confessed, his hand gently tracing the scar. "This mark, it's a badge of your bravery. It makes you even more beautiful." Tears streamed down her face as memories flooded back. They talked for hours, oblivious to the party. He shared his empire's success, but admitted the emptiness without her. She opened up about her struggles, the border crossing, the abusive jobs, raising Maria alone. The chemistry reignited instantly. As the night deepened, he kissed her scar tenderly, then her lips with a hunger that had built over decades. She responded, her body pressing against his, feeling the hardness of his arousal. "Alex," she murmured, her hands sliding under his shirt, feeling the muscles she'd dreamed of. They slipped into a nearby guest room, the door locking behind them. Clothes fell away in a frenzy, his mouth on her breasts, sucking and teasing until she gasped. She stroked him, feeling his length throb in her hand, before guiding him inside her. Their lovemaking was fierce, passionate, him thrusting deeply as she rode him, their bodies slick with sweat, moans echoing in the dim light. It was a reclaiming, a fusion of past and present, bodies entwined in ecstasy that left them both shuddering in release. But challenges loomed. The next day, tabloids exploded, Billionaire's scandalous affair with Maid. Elena faced backlash. Her employer fired her, accusing her of seducing the rich. Maria was confused, worried about the class divide. Alex's board questioned his judgment, fearing stock dips. Elena doubted herself. "I'm just a maid, Alex. We come from different worlds." He fought back, publicly defending her, using his influence to expose her former boss's cruelty. He integrated her into his life, showing her the world, private jets, luxurious dates where he'd worship her body in silk-sheeted beds, his tongue exploring her most intimate places until she cried out in pleasure. Slowly, they resolved the hurdles. Maria warmed to Alex, seeing his genuine love. Elena started a foundation for immigrant workers with his support, finding purpose. The proposal at the next gala was his grand gesture. As she said yes, the crowd erupted in applause, but it was their private moment that mattered. In the afterglow, back in his penthouse, they made love again, slow, sensual, his hands caressing her curves, entering her with deliberate strokes that built to a shattering climax. "You're my everything," he whispered. Years later, married and thriving, Elena looked back on their journey. From orphan dreams to billionaire bliss, their story proved that love endures scars, borders, and time. It inspires us all. Never stop searching for your soulmate, embrace your flaws, and fight for what sets your heart on fire. True passion, emotional, physical, unbreakable, conquers all. If this tale moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more epic romances, and share your own stories in the comments. Who knows? Your happy ending might be just around the corner.